Hey, this is John Mathis again. We're here in the Mansion recording studios near Nashville in historic Franklin, Tennessee. And I still have my buddy, my friend, Steve Hess. And Steve has a group, Steve Hess and Southern Salvation. They're Christian artists that travel around the country. And we just talked a little bit about booking, probably the number one thing that I get asked. But what I want to talk about, Steve, is performing.
Okay.
There's a thing in society right now where I watch a lot of youth. They learn to perform from watching videos on YouTube. That's okay, you know. And I mean, there's some stuff. I see videos of kids dancing or singing, and I'm like, wow, what a great performance. But there's an element to me that they get hit with. Once you get booked and once you get in front of an audience, okay, you still have to perform in a way that captures and embraces that and engages that audience. And you know, the old school guys, you know, my dad sang country music in a day and time when you had to get up on the stage and you had to get those people around your finger, or else you probably wouldn't be going on to another date. Or,
That's right.
You know, it creates a certain element. And in your past, I've always, you're in situations now where you're performing in some theaters and things like that where there are other things for people to do. Their attention can be distracted. You've done Vegas. You've done performances there. Casinos where, my goodness, there's a lot of distraction in casinos.
Lots.
So I kind of guess that you've honed your performance skills a little bit in regard to trying to keep an audience's attention. So if you have some insight about how you develop that, or you know what are some things what goes through your mind when you're on stage and you're wanting to keep this audience engaged?
First of all, there's a couple of different aspects. Excellence these days is expected. There's so many people out there, and they're good, that when you go somewhere to sing or perform, the fact that you're good or not is expected to be a given. I
think that's a very valid point. I almost think that society is bored with good.
Yeah.
And they want something more.
They do.
Than
but
good.
You have to. So the reason I say that is, in all your working, booking, all your everything else. You know, I heard a comedian once talking about when I grew up, the Tonight Show was a big deal, and Johnny Carson was the thing. And I heard him say that so many comedians would spend all of their energy and everything that they had pulling all the strings and pushing all the buttons and networking, doing everything, so they got their 3-minute shot on Carson. And then when they did their 3-minute shot, they weren't good. And their career was over. So,
well, that's why I want to talk about this, because we spent a lot of time talking about booking.
Yeah.
But you can put yourself on a stage, but you not only need to be ready. Talent is one thing, but talent has to be cultivated, honed, and developed.
Right.
And again, there's a lot of mentality that people think that if I'm just a great singer, that's going to be all I need. You have to engage. You have to perform.
Well, what I was going to get to is, so the excellence part of it, you know, your rehearsals, those hours and hours and hours and hours and hours of rehearsal to get to the point where the group is right and it's ready, and the thing you're going to do talent-wise is ready. When you show up at the venue, well, the week before, the month before, they've had so-and-so there who were perfect musically and technically. So that has to be there, but it's a given. Especially as you start doing larger places, this is just expected. Then you move on to the next part, which is the important part, and what really, really matters. You have to connect with people. And that involves a concept that I call staying in the moment. And staying in the moment sounds like a simple concept, but it is one of the hardest things you will ever do. When you're singing the verse of a song, you can't be thinking about, you know, I wonder if we're going to go to the pizza buffet after this. Or you can't be thinking about, man, I got to get that call into Frank about next month. But you can't even be thinking about standing at the record table at the end of the concert. You have to be in that moment.
What if you're thinking, man, I'm really great right now?
Yeah, you can't do that either. You have to be thinking, that man right there in the second row, I'm going to reach him.
Okay. Visually
connect with him. First of all, you've prayed, and so the anointing of the Lord is on you, and you believe the things that you're singing, and everything within you is about sharing it with that person, and then looking here with that person. I'm always scanning the audience, not over their heads, but I'm connecting with people, all the audience, eye to eye, and connecting, and find audience participation ways to involve the audience in what we're doing. And connection is everything. Again, good is expected. They're just assuming you're going to be good. But if you're, I know I won't name any names, but I know specifically of somebody that had a group in that's fabulous technically, and they're not going to be asked back because they just stood up there and looked, we're so great, aren't we wonderful? And they did all their nails and their key changes and everything was wonderful, but they didn't connect with anybody in the building.
Well, that's a subject I was going to say at some point in this video about performance. Performance isn't just on the stage. For me, I've known a lot of artists who were great performers off the stage.
Yeah.
Their personality and the things they did at the venue, at the church, wherever your venue is, the way they interacted, they were still on, even when they weren't on.
Have to be.
And it was a big impression at the place they were at, upon the people that were there. And, I always said, if you want people to like you, you have to like them first.
Yeah.
And a lot of times with artists, we get very self-focused and we think I'm going to stand up here and hit a high note, everybody's going to love me.
Yeah.
And it doesn't really work like that. There's got to be something beyond that. I'm sure that in between songs you don't say, how y'all doing out there about 20 times. And
No.
I'm sure you have content there and they go along with this entire performance than just singing.
First of all, preparation. We don't, and everybody does it differently, and everybody has their own approach. Our approach is when three songs and stop, and it's time for me to talk, I'm just not pulling something. Now, I may change, I may work off the audience or what I'm feeling, but I have a general direction that I'm planning on going.
So you not only have a repertoire of songs, you have a repertoire of, not a script, but you have a repertoire of presentation or communication in word, besides just in song, that you place in what you do.
Yeah, and so as you go into that, you have a preconceived idea of what you're going to say and you're connecting. But then when you say something about the upcoming song, say you say something that's funny, and a lady in the audience shouts out something to kind of, well, you hear that, boom, I'm going to her. And I'm going to play off of that. So everything, all the rules just change. Suddenly the whole entire presentation for the next song just changed because she said something. So I'm going to work off of that, because what you want to do is connect to those people so they feel that they know you. And it not only does it benefit so that you, because if they don't feel that, everything you sing, your message, you're not going to reach them because they're just like, yeah, another good singer. But if they feel a connection, like they know you, they're going to respond, you can reach them with the message, then they're going to be ones that come to your table where your product is at the end of the day. And then it's not just they're going to buy product, they want to talk to you. Yeah. And more than that, John, they want you to listen. Boy, this one song touched me because I'm going through this thing with my husband, or I'm going through this thing with my wife, she's sick, or he's sick, or this has happened in my family. They're wanting, because they think they know you now, they want to share that with you, and you better be interested. If you, again, so that's how those relationships build. So here's what happens then. You've done all of that, and then you meet with the pastor at the end of the service and say, this went so well, let's rebook this for the same week next year, and he does. Well, then, when a month from that day comes, the folks are saying, hey, the guys are coming. Our guys are coming. Yeah. And that's how those relationships build. And then they bring a cousin with them to the service who says, I'm going to tell my pastor about you. Can I get a card? And it all grows from that. It grows from that relationship sort of thing, that connecting with people. Again, because we live in an age where excellence is just expected. You've got to go beyond there to separate yourself from the last 10 groups they've had. Everybody's got a guy that can sing the high note. Most of them have a guy that can sing the low note. Yeah. That's, I think you're right. It's building that relationship both with the pastor, with the audience, the theater owner, whoever it is. It's about connecting with people.
Well, and I've seen this across the board. I've got the chance to work with not only Christian artists, but country artists, guys that I used to listen to on the radio that, I love their music. And even past their careers, when they were popular in pop culture, they still have careers because of performance, and it's not just that they were good singers.
Yeah.
Their fan bases love them because you could say performance, it was personal.
Right.
I mean, not just from the stage when they were singing, but in between songs. They just had a way of making everyone feel like this is a personal moment. We're not in a big room, we're in a small room. We're kind of like at a little party, just shooting the breeze. And then they would be back at the merch table and still stick around for the lines of people that just wanted to say hey and get a picture or those kind of things. So the elements are the same. You can't forget that those are people. They have emotions. They have stories going on at the moment. Some are in good places, some are in bad places. And you have to find a way to connect in that short amount of time you have. Not just with the song. Yes, with the song, with what you're singing, believe in what you're singing, but also through those moments in between, before and after.
You know, I've listened to some folks talk to me about, like, they'd be talking about a Southern gospel person that they went to see, who was great. And like, so you know how great some of those old guys were with that connection thing. And when they would talk, it was very seldom about, oh, you should have heard them hit the note on this song. Oh, they said the funniest thing. Oh, I loved it. Well, they took pictures with my kids. That's what usually the talk is about. And I just learned from there, man, these people want to feel connected to you.
Well, we'll wrap up with this. I came into working in Southern Gospel around 1999, 98. Now, I'd heard it on the radio. I didn't know what to call it. I grew up in church with church music. And so I heard quartets. I didn't really get quartets as far as the music. Everybody has their thing, but as far as just hearing the music on the radio, I didn't get it. Well, years later, during that time, I got to hear the Cathedral Quartet. And they're a legendary group in Southern Gospel. And I told you my background with my father in performance. And those guys were probably come from the same era as my father. When I heard them, when I saw them live, I got the Cathedral Quartet. Because Glenn and George, two of the founding members in that group, they were great performers.
When you show up, you've got your music down. You've got your spots. You know generally what you're going to say. And yes, you know to connect with people. But if you've been on your face before God, and you say, God, we just don't want this to be some songs. Those that don't know you, we want them to come to know you. Those that are hurting, we want them uplifted. We want them to know that you're relevant and real in their life. And if you go in there with that attitude, He will grant you favor with those people. And they will respond to you in a way far greater than anything you will ever do on your own. I think, you know, it's the last thing we spoke about during that, but it is the first thing you had better get right. Because if you don't get that right, there's 1,000 groups that know how to sing.
Yeah. There you have it. Some information on performance. I hope some of those things help you, and just think about those things, kind of process that. If you have any comments or suggestions, thanks Steve for being here. If you have comments or suggestions or questions, put those in the comment section below. Be sure and subscribe to the channel for future videos, and we'll see you in the next video.